Hello, welcome back to Learning Curves. I'm Anastasia, and today we are going to wrap up our series on superhero capes. If you haven't seen the first two videos, to catch you up, I made 20 Batman capes for my daughter's 5th birthday party, which was a year and a half ago, and this series is all about how to make whatever superhero cape your little superhero desires, or grown superhero. This can be modified to any number of capes, to any superhero. In our first video, we did a whole deep dive in the materials you need, how to calculate the volume. You can calculate for yourself based on how many capes you're making, the amount of materials that you need. And I do encourage you to purchase at least the fabric yourself because it's going to be cheaper. But if you want to just be done with it, you can head to the description box and I have linked Amazon affiliate links to the materials that you will need for this project. So our first video was all about supplies. Take a screenshot of this. This is what you need, or you can just head to the description box. The next video was all about how to make our pattern pieces. Suffice it to say, we're making a cape that is a quarter circle. The neck begins 5 inches down from the apex of that quarter circle, and the cape ends 25 inches down, so it's 20 inches in total from the neck to the bottom. Cut around neck, cut around bottom, and then you will fold the cape into sixths and cut scallops into the bottom by sort of inverting the curve, coming up about 2 inches at the highest point. That gives you your cape. Your oval will be about 5 inches tall by 7 inches wide if you are using an oval shape. There are plenty of superheroes that don't use an oval shape, or you can make up whatever shape you like. And then our bat is about 3 inches tall and about 4.5 inches wide. And you can pick whatever bat or whatever symbol you like. Let's put it all together. So if you're part of our sad little group who did not get a non-fraying fabric for your yellow ovals, you'll stitch the ovals. Keeping your pinned pieces right sides together, you will stitch those two pieces together right on your pattern line. You'll backstitch a bit at the beginning and the end, and you'll leave an opening on one of the longer sides. You want the opening big enough to be able to turn this right side out, but not so big that you make closing the shape too difficult. I ended up leaving, I don't know, a couple inches open, 1.5 inches. Again, here I just used black thread, but you might prefer to use yellow so that you can't see it. Although this is going to be on the inside, so you can't really see it anyway. For all of these stitches, I did a basting stitch, so like a longer stitch. I don't know what the unit of measurement is, but the number 4 on your stitch length on your machine. I did that for a couple reasons. One, because I was expecting to make mistakes and I wanted to be able to seam rip pretty easily, but also because these are like, they're for kids. I'm going to be backstitching over everything. It's fine. Next, you'll turn these right side out and press them flat. I did find an edge turner, super helpful here, but just get a non-fraying fabric and don't worry about it. I was super frustrated that the oval didn't turn out as smooth as I would have liked it. My husband talked me down and I persevered, and this wouldn't even have been an issue if I just had some good felt. I'm done. I'm not going to talk about the felt anymore. Okay, but I did not stitch closed my oval here. I'm gonna top stitch it onto the cape. You'll see, and then it'll close up when I do that. You guys, I did end up finding a yellow felt I like. And even though I still have capes left over from when I made them a year and a half ago, I still made another cape. I had to see what it looked like with the yellow felt. And you know what? I like it better. It's easier to work with. It's fewer steps. Therefore, it comes together faster. I super recommend the yellow felt. Next, I stitched the bat to the oval. I just pinned the bat to the center of the oval and I top stitched around the bat close to the edge. The black thread is pretty camouflaged in the felt, so it's pretty forgiving, but you'll just want to be careful to keep the bat flat on the oval the whole time and make sure that it doesn't start to angle and you have a skew bat. Next, I stitched the bias to the capes. I found it was easiest to do that before I added the bat symbol onto the cape. I eyeballed a lot of this too, but I folded the bias over the neck and I pinned the center of both of those together so that the neck was tucked fully inside the bias. And then I like roughly rounded this bias along the edge and pinned it each side of the cape. If you're new to bias and not feeling super comfortable, I recommend using an iron to gently like round the bias to mimic the curve of the neckline. That's gonna help you pin it a lot more clearly. Also, you could just use more pins. And then I folded in each end of the bias strip about 1/4 inch to give me the finished edge, and I pinned those. So I used 5 pins per piece of bias tape to the cape. So you may know this, but bias tape has one side that's just a little longer than the other one, and the shorter side should be the side you see when you're sewing, and the longer side should be underneath. This is to ensure that you're catching both sides with the needle as you're stitching, so if you're close to the bottom of the shorter one on top, you know you're still going to be inside the longer one at the bottom. So I stitched over the short end of the bias a couple times where I was giving myself a finished edge by tucking under that 1/4 inch. And then I stitched along the neck to the other side of the bias and then over that short end a couple of times too. So just one pass to attach this bias. It wasn't always pretty. It didn't matter. It really didn't. Then you will stitch the ovals with the bats onto the capes. I pinned the ovals to the capes. Actually, I didn't do this. I had my husband do it because he's more particular about exactly where the bat symbol should go on the cape. So yeah, he had pinned them in place with just one pin, and I started off really arrogant, just leaving the one pin in place, but I found that I was ending with a sort of pleat in the oval towards the end, so I ended up adding more pins to keep that oval in place. The top of the ovals were about 4.5 inches down from the center of the neckline, so I used black thread for this to give the oval a sort of outline, so you will see that black thread over the yellow, and it was then invisible on the inside of the cape, which was just black. But you could use yellow thread for both, or you could even get fancy and use yellow thread on top and black in your bobbin so that you'd be top stitching in yellow and using black on the other side. I always find I end up seeing some of the thread through, so I don't know, but you do you. And then lastly, you'll add the Velcro. This part is super easy, and I still kind of overthought it. The overthinking I did was just to make sure that the scratchy part of the Velcro, the hooks, faced away from the body, and the softer part, the loops, faced towards the body, so that if the Velcro wasn't perfectly overlined, the soft part was touching the baby skin and not the scratchy part. And then the other overthinking I did, I layered it so that the right side of the bias layered over the left. Something I learned in the costume shop was that traditionally feminine clothes fasten with the right side over the left, and masculine clothing layers with the left side over the right. And the way I was taught that in the costume shop was with the quote, "Women are always right and men are always left over." And 20-year-old Anastasia thought that was hysterical. Etymological pun unintended. So I layered these intentionally with the right over the left to give the masculine nod of the bat, but the feminine nod of the traditional clothing layering. You do you. You guys, that's it. Okay, I came up with this idea on a Thursday and had 20 capes, and that was actually 23 capes, ready to go for my daughter's party on that Saturday afternoon. Granted, it was a photo finish. I also had the fraying yellow fabric. If you were doing this with yellow felt, oh my gosh, it would be so much faster. I mean, this ended up being, what was it, like $5 a cape? And I thought it was a super cool party favor to give these kids. You should have seen how excited my husband was to see a bunch of little kids running around wearing bat capes that were like flowing in the wind. It was super cute. I actually got asked by one of the guys that worked there where we got them, and I said I made them, and he's like, "Really? How'd you do that?" And I was like, "Well, I'm actually going to create a YouTube video," which had to wait forever, but he subscribed, so I'm going to tag him. But you guys, would you please let me know if you do this? Put it in the comments, or you can tag me on Instagram at Learning Curves Lady. I'm not super active on there right now, but hopefully again someday. As always, thank you so much for watching. I would be absolutely honored if you'd subscribe, and if you like this video, please like this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye!